Hi, this is Virendra Singh from ToolsQA.com. I welcome you to class number 7 on Cucumber in Java. In this class, we will talk about regular expressions by taking some examples. Expressions is something that we had covered in the previous class. In the previous class, we talked about the capture groups, and there we tried to understand what different annotations are and how the annotations are formed. There we understood the concept of a regular expression. In this class, we will talk more in details about regular expressions, but I would strongly suggest that you go through uh, the Java links on regular expressions, because regular expressions is not a concept of Cucumber, it is a concept of Java language. So it's always better to learn it from the source. So keeping that in mind, let me just quickly take you through the agenda. The agenda for today is the first thing that we want to understand is what exactly a regular expression is. Then we will talk about the alternation. It's again uh, a concept in regular expressions. Then we will talk about the question mark colon operator, which is very specific to Cucumber. Then we will talk about the dot operator, and then we will talk about the sequence of dot and asterisk. Now asterisk is another operator that is very helpful and very useful while writing really good step definitions. So let me just quickly take you through the first section from today's agenda. Alright, so the first slide is regular expressions. So what basically a regular expression is. Now, by definition, regular expression is set of special characters which, when grouped together, helps find and match patterns in a bigger string. Now, this is a definition, and if you dissect the definition, it means that basically it's a syntax that is given to you by a programming language which can help you identify patterns and match patterns inside a string value. For example, let us understand it with an example. Let's say, or you know what, just close this notepad and let us look at the example that is given to us in the slide. So in the second or the later half of or the next half of this slide, we have an example. The example says this example takes a scenario where a user wants to navigate to a web page, and in this case we have taken an example of toolsqa.com. So let's say you are uh, a business user and you are about to write a Cucumber step, and in the Cucumber step you just want to describe that you want to navigate to a particular page. Now there are three ways you can do the same thing. You can express your desire to navigate to a particular page by either writing navigate to http toolsqa.com, or you would write open http toolsqa.com, or you can also write launch http toolsqa.com. Now these three things, they basically are different ways of expressing the same thing. The same thing is that we want to navigate to a particular page, right? So what regular expression gives you is the power to condense these three statements into one, so that you don't have to write separate step definitions using these three texts, these three string values. So how can you do that? If you move on to the next slide, you can see that from the previous example. If I just take the previous example, I can condense these three statements into one regular expression, and the regular expression would be navigate, pipe, open, pipe, launch, and then the URL where I want to go to. So I will now open Notepad and I will try to explain this to you. So we are saying that we have three statements that we want to, three actions that we want to express. First action is navigate to uh, toolsqa.com. Then we have another statement where we again want to navigate to toolsqa.com, but we want to express it in a different way. So we say open http toolsqa.com. This is what we say instead of saying navigate to http toolsqa.com. And similarly, we can also say launch http toolsqa.com, right? Now these three statements, they basically mean the same thing, right? But in Cucumber, it causes a problem because in Cucumber, every step definition is bound to the text value that you give in the scenario step. So if you go back to your step definitions, let me just take another example, or let us just take this example only. So in the last class, we created a simple given step. In the given step, we said user is on http toolsqa.com, right? Now, this particular step had a definition, which is the navigate to method, and this method is annotated with a regular expression, which is user is on http://com and then the anchor point. Now this is a regular expression to represent any URL which starts with HTTP and ends with com. So in the previous class we talked about it, and then in front of it is the actual text which you have mentioned here in the scenario step. So you can see that the actual text is present there. So right now, the same scenario is bound. This same method is bound to what you have written here. Right. So if I go by this example, this means that I can express the same information, which is user is on http toolsqa.com in three different ways. So does that mean that I have to create three different methods? And in each method, do I have to change the wording according to uh, what the, let's say like this, according to what the user might write as a step definition, right? You can have like multiple methods with all the different ways in which you can express a step or express an action. That is one way to achieve the ability to open a URL on any of these three statements. That is one way. But there is one very nice way, which is regular expressions, and that is what we will use. So by regular expression, what you can do is you can isolate the common part or isolate the part which you think can change. For example, navigate to open and launch. They all can change, right? So these values are like the different values and the common value is this one, right? So what you can do is just copy any of the statements, let's say this one, and in the front just say that I am a regular expression. To say that you are a regular expression, you have to start with the bracket, and then whatever is changing, just put that part one by one, separated by a pipe, right? What it means is that this is the common part. So what here the regular expression means that uh, the part before the URL could either be navigate to, it could either be open or launch. So it could be any of the three values. It can be navigate to, it can be open, it can be launch. So whenever you write a statement which contains any of these three values, and if you just copy this thing here, if you just copy this thing here, then it would mean that anything, any statement which starts with navigate to or open or launch and ends with this URL will have this step definition. We will just see it in a minute. Now, before we go into it, before I run the test for you and we see that this method will cater to all the three types of statements that we have mentioned here, before doing that, I would talk about this keyword. This keyword is called the alternation keyword. The spelling is alternation. This is the keyword, and this keyword means that you are altering the values. So these are the alternate values. You are providing the alternate values. So any of these values, if present in the string, will match the whole string. So we will come to it and we will understand it in more details in a few seconds, few minutes, when I will try to run the scenario with different values. So before going there, let us just move on to the next slide. Let's see what we have in the next slide. In the next slide, we are talking about alternation. Now, if you go by the definition of alternation, alternation is a regular expression technique, which means any of the given choices. Each choice is separated by a pipe character. This is exactly what we did. It means any of the choices that you have given, and all the choices are separated by a pipe. So this thing would can mean navigate to toolsqa.com, or it can mean open toolsqa.com, or it can also mean launch toolsqa.com. So whenever any step with any of these description, if it tries to match a regular expression, then this regular expression will match to all three of the steps. This means that it gives us a liberty to write the same thing in multiple ways. At the same time, it gives us an ability to have only one step definition. So if I put the regular expression here, I will have one step definition for three steps, scenario steps, right? So this gives us the ability to reuse code and have a concise and smaller amount of code, test code, which means we can maintain it more efficiently. Now, with this, let's see, let's just quickly go back to the slides. Now, we know the definition of alternation. Let's just take an example. We just took this example only. So we just saw navigate, open, and launch. If we separate them by pipe, it means we have given three options and then the other part of the string. So this is a proper example. We just saw it. We just saw it right here. So I hope that clears up alternation for you. Uh, and writing some examples or trying to write some alternation examples yourself will help you understand it more in details. So I will move on to the next slide. The next slide talks about the question mark colon operator. Now, what is a question mark colon operator? Now, before we go into it, I will just do a quick recap of what we learned in the last class. So if I go back here and if I look at the step definition of login step, so this is the login step. In the login step, we created the step definition in such a way that we can accept input arguments. So from the previous class, you would know that why we want to take arguments, because we want to have only one step definition for um, one step definition. So, and we also wanted to have the ability to pass in multiple different values to the step definition, which is the different username and passwords that we want to use. So to pass a variable value from this step to the step definition, we used a capture group. We said a capture group starts from the opening bracket and closes at the closing bracket, and inside the capture group there is a regular expression. We used the regular expression dot asterisk. We will talk about dot asterisk in the coming slides, but just as a refresher or just as a preview, dot asterisk means anything, any number of characters, any character, any string of characters. So what happens is that uh, whenever a string which has something like this comes in, so whatever comes after username space becomes the input argument, and whatever comes after password space becomes the second input argument. And if you look at the step definition, you would see that just after the username we have the actual username, and just after the password we have the actual password. Right, so that way we were able to pass in values. But the key point I want you to remember is that this is called a capture group because it is helping you capture a variable. So coming back here. Now, in the previous class we talked about capture groups. I just explained you what a capture group is. Now, it is possible that you want to express regular expressions in the string value. For example, here there is a regular expression, right? So you want to express a regular expression somewhere in the string value, but you don't want it as an input argument. By default, whatever starts with the bracket and ends with the bracket becomes a capture group, and this value is directly passed into the method as an argument. But how can you avoid doing that? How can you inform Cucumber that this is a regular expression, it is not a capture group? So if you want to express a regular expression inside a string and you don't want to pass it as an argument, just make sure that you do something like this. You do a question mark, colon. This informs Cucumber that this is not a part of a capture group and this is a simple regular expression. You just have to ignore it. You ignore in the sense you don't have to pass it as an argument. You just have to interpret it in the right way as you would do for any regular expression. Right? So that is the question mark colon operator. Now with this understanding, let us go back to the example here and let us see the alternation operator again. Now coming back to our previous example that we had in the last class. Now let us write the same example uh, in a different way. Let's say we have another scenario, or let's say a new business developer comes in, a business analyst comes in, and he writes a similar scenario, something like this. Uh, he just says that verify that user is able to log in, and for him, he want to express the given condition like this: user navigates to um, let's say this URL, right, toolsqa.com, and we will just keep this scenario short to only the given step because we want to understand only one concept, right? So I will just keep it short. Now another business developer comes in, and this guy, he again writes some scenario like this, working, and he says that my given step would look something like this: user launches http://toolsqa.com. Let's say this is what the user types in, your business developer types in, right? Now if you look at the three statements, they all are doing the same thing, right? They are navigating to some page, right? But the way a business developer has expressed it is different. Now all you have to do is create a proper step, a proper regular expression to express all the three steps in one regular expression. So we will again go back to our technique. We will just copy the three statements like this, and again like this. And when we copy it, we will just look at the common part. So we know that all the statements will start from user. We know that they will end with toolsqa.com. Whatever is in between, it has to be regularized. It has to be converted into a regular expression. So all you have to do is just pick any of the statement and start copying the changing part like this, right? And make sure that you do something like this. Right. And as I explained, this is a regular expression, but we don't want to pass it as an argument. I will put a question mark colon. Right. Now, if I go back here and if I just, or before even copying that value, we already have it. So let us just copy the value again, this time like this. Okay, so we will just copy the value. So now what it means, if you want to read it in English term, it means user space anything which could be either is on or navigates to or launches space toolsqa.com. Now whatever matches this regular expression, this step definition will be picked. So now let us see whether it works for all the three cases that we have. Now I will quickly just run it and let's see what happens. We get a weird exception, and the exception can be seen here. We might have done something wrong. Let us just quickly take a look at the step definition again and let's see what wrong we have done. Okay, navigates to. Alright, so basically if you look at the previous class, we actually converted it into a regular expression or a capture group to be precise, and that capture group was fed as an input string variable to the method. Now we have again converted it back to a string, so we just have to change this part. So I will quickly convert it into a regular expression. I'll go back there, and all you have to do is dot asterisk, and this will be passed in as a regular expression, as a string variable to the navigate method. So now if you run this again, you would see that this time things would start working. It will launch what we call one browser, and it will navigate to toolsqa.com. Then it should launch another browser. If it doesn't, then it's doing something. Let's see. It's stuck at the first step. Let's see what the second step is. Clicks on the My Account link. Well, we have a timeout of 2 minutes, so it will wait for 2 minutes before quitting it. I think I should have removed the additional steps, but anyway, let's wait for a few more seconds, and it should just move ahead and fail the previous test because we are not on the right URL, right? So let's just wait, or let me do one thing. Let us just close this. Now that we have made a regular expression of the URL as well, we can just uh, to demonstrate this example, we will just remove the additional, we will comment out the additional steps so that it becomes faster for us to quickly see the outcome. So I would just change the URL also in each step. ToolsQA.com. Let's say these are the 3 steps. These 3 steps express the same thing but in different ways, right? So I will just run it again and let's see what happens. So the first thing is a browser is launched. It takes us to the toolsqa.com page. Then another browser is launched, and this should take us to the store.demoqa.com. And then again the third browser is launched, and it takes us to the forumsqa.com page. Right, now this is a wrong page, so we might get some exception, but you can see that 3 browsers were opened and we were navigated to 3 different URLs. Now this is exactly what you would want from a method. You can see that all 3 steps, all 3 scenarios with 3 steps were executed perfectly fine. Now what we achieved here, we achieved the fact, we achieved something which can be expressed by the fact that only one method, just by using alternation, only one method is now capable of handling 3 different ways of expressing the same scenario, right? Expressing the same step, which is user navigates to a particular URL. Now, this is very important for us, especially in Cucumber, because Cucumber, if you don't use regular expressions properly, you may end up creating multiple methods to do the same thing, which is not the right way of programming, right? You would never want to have multiple methods doing the same thing. So you better would want uh, a good regular expression which can express the possible ways, possible lines that someone can write to perform a particular step. So just try out a couple of examples by yourself and everything should be fine. You will understand everything quite clearly. So with that understanding, let us move on to the next slide, and let's see what we have in the next slide. The dot gun, okay, the dot operator. Now if you go back here, you would see that I have the dot and the asterisk operator between HTTP and COM, right? So let us see what a dot operator is. So dot operator stands for any character. A dot means any character. It could be ABCD, capital ABCD, 1, 2, 3, 4, or any of the special characters. A dot means any character, but the important point is it means only one character. So let's take an example here. Let's say we have 2 string values, orange and oranges. If you want to express the 2 strings with one regular expression, the only difference is S, right? It's just one character difference and it is S. So what we can do is we can simply say orange dot, which means that this regular expression will match for orange and it will also match for oranges. So basically a dot operator stands for any character occurrence 0 or 1 time. So the character could not be present at all, which is the case of orange, or it could be present, which is the case of oranges, right? So this is the dot operator. It represents a character. Now, it represents any character, and the occurrence is 0 or 1. So it represents any character 0 or 1 times. Now, the asterisk operator. Now, asterisk operator is basically matches preceding character any number of times, 0 or any number of times. What it means is that uh, when, let's say, you have three string values, which are A, double A, and AAA, right? A continuous string of AAA. Now, if you want to match, if you want to create a regular expression which matches all three, then all you have to do is just do a dot asterisk, which means uh, dot means any character and asterisk means any number of times, 0 or more number of times. So what will happen is that A will match this because it will match with the dot operator. It means there is one character. Double A will match because dot can come any number of times because of the asterisk operator. And similarly, this sequence of 5 A's will also match with dot asterisk. Now this is what the dot operator, the asterisk operator means. Now if you combine both, the dot asterisk, it means anything, right? Now here in the case of HTTP dot asterisk com, let us see what it means. So if I go back uh, to my notepad, you would see that we had toolsqa.com 3 times, right? Now you would see that for a URL, which is a .com URL, and it's a non-secured URL, just to reduce complexity, we are just dealing with a non-secured URL and a .com URL, just to reduce the complexity. Now you would see that this URL could be anything like this. You can have google.com, you can have, what do we call it, yahoo.com, right? Now the only thing that is changing is ToolsQA, Google, and Yahoo. Other things are common. So if I want to create a regular expression, I would simply say dot asterisk anything dot com, or I won't even say dot, I would say com. So I'm saying that anything here, anything. It could be Google dot, it could be ToolsQA dot, it could be Yahoo dot, or it could even be store.demoqa.com. So it could be anything. So anything here will match to this regular expression, and that is exactly why we have put it here, because we want to have a regular expression for a URL and we want to have it as a capture group. So you will see that it starts with bracket and ends with bracket, so that this URL can be passed in as a string value to the method. Now once we have it as a string value, this method becomes a generic method. It can be used to handle multiple situations. So this is basically what a regular expression is, and this is how useful a regular expression is to have a really efficient code and really efficient cucumber step definitions. So you will avoid duplicity in your code, and you would avoid uh, redundancy, and you would be able to reuse the code again and again. So that is something which you will look for and strive for while creating your Cucumber projects. Now, with this, I hope you have a starting point to jump onto deeper regular expressions. Just look for Java regular expressions on Google or Bing, and you will find all the tutorials about regular expressions. Keep in mind, regular expression is not a concept of Cucumber, it is a concept of a programming language, and as such it is a common concept across multiple programming languages. So with this understanding, I would like to close the video. See you in the next class. Thank you.